A new legal filing from attorneys for Kilmar Abrego Garcia alleges that he was tortured while in secret custody in El Salvador. We can put this first element up on the screen. Garcia has become the detainee who has captured the most attention in this ongoing scandal. It could have gone a lot of different ways. The focus could have been on the makeup artist who was also facing brutal conditions. Or perhaps the Venezuelan soccer player who had absolutely no gang connection and yet remains detained there. But Garcia has become the one that Democrats have focused their attention on. He was surprisingly returned from El Salvador by the administration. Not out of compassion, but to face human trafficking charges in the Nashville area, charges which are now crumbling under scrutiny. This new allegation of torture serves as a part of these ongoing proceedings. We're still joined by ZDO's Mehdi Hasan to talk through some of this. Mehdi, thank you for sticking around. It's a horrific story. Ryan. Mehdi began. It really is. The filing details how, upon arriving at the facility, one of the guards greeted the new arrivals by saying, "Welcome to Secret. Those who enter never leave." Abrego Garcia is one of the only cases we know of, in El Salvador or anywhere else, of somebody leaving Secret alive. Soon after arriving, they had them all kneel for 24 hours straight. As you and I know, we're old men at this point. If we kneel for 2 minutes, we're struggling hard. The filing states they were beaten with wooden batons if they collapsed from exhaustion. It says that Garcia soiled himself while being forced to kneel overnight, among a host of other abuses. Do you think this is the reason why the Trump administration was initially so reluctant, and remains reluctant, to return anyone from that detention center? Because they can then talk about what happened down there. I think it's part of the reason, but not the whole reason. Mehdi explained. Even if they weren't being tortured, it's a point of principle for the bullies not to give in. They don't want to say that the liberal media, the Democrats, and human rights activists made them bring people back. You remember that South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, after her ridiculous cosplaying visit, went in front of Congress and guaranteed he was never coming back. Well, he did come back, but only for this sham indictment in Tennessee for human smuggling. Human Rights Watch has documented that this is a prison people never leave. He continued. They are literally disappeared inside. It's a horrific gulag in El Salvador created by a budding autocrat, President Bukele, a Trump ally. People are treated horrifically. Garcia was threatened with being put into cells with gang members who would kill him. His head was forcibly shaved with a zero razor. He was punched in the head. As you said, he was forced to kneel all night, deprived of food, and suffered from malnutrition, losing dozens of pounds. You'll remember that photo the administration released of him with Senator Chris Van Hollen, showing them with margaritas. As the senator from Maryland pointed out, they didn't order them. The drinks were placed in the picture by the Salvadorans to create a false image. He was not having a great time. We can only dread what is happening to the other innocent people sent there, the gay barber, the man with the autism awareness tattoos who was looking after his brother. Just this week, the administration admitted they sent someone who shouldn't have been. But now they can't find him. I tweeted this yesterday, and I stand by it. Mehdi said with conviction. You and I are old men who remember 2001. 2002. 2003. I think this is as big a scandal, if not bigger, than Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay. This is happening in plain sight. At least back then. We could argue we didn't know until much later, until Senator Dianne Feinstein's report or Seymour Hersh's reporting. We have known about this from day one. We saw the videos the administration itself put out. Set to music. Showing off their torture and beatings. History will judge what those of us who knew about this did in this moment. This is a scandal that Democrats in Congress should be screaming about from the rooftops. The Trump administration took people from the United States, possibly including legal residents, sent them to a foreign gulag to be tortured, and refused to bring them back even when ordered by a court. That is a crime. The conversation then turned to a new facility, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, being built in the Everglades. This engineering marvel, constructed rapidly, is already experiencing flooding, hardly a surprise for a 30,000 bed facility thrown up in a swamp. Ryan raised the point that hurricane season could be especially devastating for anyone detained there. I think the public, by and large, hates the Second situation because it feels profoundly un-American. It feels like a political blind spot for an administration that gets caught up in the online appeal of its own memes. I don't foresee Alligator Alcatraz looking exactly like Second. But the threat is serious. I'm curious what you expect to see from this new facility as they start filling its thousands of beds. On the point of politics, Mehdi added, when the history books are written, they will note that Republican members of Congress went to El Salvador, stood outside these prison cells, and praised the facility. Kristi Noem led the charge, posing for a photo op in front of a cell packed with men with shaved heads, many of whom we now know were being tortured. This is what the American government was a part of. It's worse in many ways than Abu Ghraib because the Bush administration tried to hide it. With this administration, as Adam Serwer wrote, the cruelty is the point. So, whether you call it Alligator Alcatraz or whatever stupid name they give their concentration camps, ICE detention facilities are already overcrowded and rife with abuse. We hear stories of people not eating for days, sleeping on the floor without blankets. We just had the death of a 75-year-old Cuban man who had been in the United States since 1965. He fled the Castro dictatorship at age 15 and lived here for 60 years. Only to die in ICE detention. Tom Homan's response was, well, bad things happen. People die in every prison. ICE prisons in particular are horrific. This new budget gives them more money than many foreign militaries. But the problem isn't a lack of resources. The reason people are abused in detention is because the cruelty is the point. They don't see these people as fully human or deserving of rights. You have U.S. senators with law degrees going on television claiming foreigners aren't covered by the Constitution and don't get due process. Which is absolute nonsense. The fundamental problem is the mindset of Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, and Donald Trump. The accounts we've discussed today are harrowing, painting a picture of a system where cruelty is the central feature. Yet, within this darkness, there is a profound and beautiful responsibility, the responsibility to bear witness, to refuse to look away, and to demand accountability. The story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia does not have to end in despair. A truly beautiful ending is one written by us, the public, through our collective demand for justice, transparency, and a return to the fundamental principles of human dignity. It's a future where facilities like Second and Alligator Alcatraz are not symbols of fear, but relics of a chapter we, as a nation, chose to close for good. If you believe that independent journalism is essential to shining a light on these critical issues and holding power accountable, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support allows us to continue bringing you these vital stories, unfiltered and unafraid. Click that subscribe button. Join our community and help us ensure these truths are heard.